Hello, here we are at Rindoon Castle. As I said before, this was a royal castle. So the lord of this castle was the King of England as Lord of Ireland. It would have been controlled on a day-to-day basis, or run on a day-to-day basis, by his appointee, a constable. We know from the historical sources that many of the garrison of this castle, because after all it is in a frontier area, were actually Welsh mercenaries. In terms of date, the castle was begun in 1227, but research has shown that actually there's 5 phases of activity at the site. The first phases date to the 13th century. Then there's a secondary hall built around 1300. There's a destruction phase in 1340, around 1340. And then the castle remains, like the town, remains deserted for about 200 years, when in the late 16th century the Dublin government rebuilt the castle. During the late 16th century, the Tudor reconquest of Ireland. So there's a lot of phases of activity in the castle. The other thing about the castle, particularly the 13th and early 14th primary castle phases, is that flanking towers were not used in its defence. Instead, timber hoarding was used. In other words, a timber structure at wall-walk level that you could walk over and fire down arrows onto besiegers at the base of the outer base of the curtain wall. So the castle is actually more defensive than it actually looks. There's also a very fine 3-storey gatehouse with barbican and portcullis. In all, the defences are much stronger than they look initially, and this suits the frontier nature of this area, where there was a lot of warfare between the colony and the O'Conors. The other thing that we can say as well is that the whole northwestern facade of the castle was made to look more impressive than the other facades. And this is partly to impress visitors coming in by boat into the harbour underneath the castle, but also along the main road from the town wall gatehouse. Furthermore, this northwestern facade, and indeed the parish church that we've just been at, bounded the edge of the town's marketplace. So, if you like, the castle overlooked the town's marketplace and the trading activity that went on there. This, as I say, is a very fine castle, but something in its design makes us believe that actually there was a pre-Norman earth and timber fortress here before the Normans start to build, if you like, the Dublin government for the King of England start to build the castle in the late 1220s. And our feeling would be that this was either a Viking long fort of late 9th century date or an O'Conor fortress, pre-Norman fortress of 12th century date. In fact, excavation may well find out that it was both a Viking long fort, and then it was taken over by the O'Conors in the 12th century, 11th, 12th century, and used by them as a fortification along their borders. Thank you.